Welcome to Disparate Worlds, where an irresistible force meets an immovable object. I am Bob Cratchit, and he is Jacob Marley, and we are reviewing the Ghosts of Dev reviews of long past.
So Escape-from-Tarkov, is that what we're reviewing? I'm so lost at this point. Apparently you and I don't play the same games.
Well, the issue being that we have not had an episode in forever, so I figured since it was the holiday season, we could, do the Ghost of Dev developments long past. So,
yes.
That's what we're going over, is things that happened weeks and weeks and eons ago.
Right.
So here we are.
I had this dumb idea. I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go, you're going to go, okay, Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen, and Ashes of Creation, like usually. I'm going to, hello, friends. We're here to celebrate the release of Pantheon. Isn't this great? Because there would have been so much delay between our last episode and this episode that we might as well.
I undermine you, sir. I win.
You did. You got one over the finish line there. Congratulations.
I did. All right. Anyway, hello, everybody.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Pantheon and Ashes. Here we are, but mostly Pantheon today.
Mostly. Yeah, all Pantheon today. So we're going to leave our Ashes news for another week. I know that there's things to discuss. We are hopelessly behind, as always. I wish I could blame Mox.
Impossible.
I wish desperately that I could blame Mox for this, but I cannot, because it's all my fault. I'm a very busy person, and I have teenagers, and they want to have social lives for some reason, and it's just not the same. So.
Well, your oldest is driving or learning to drive, right?
Almost, yeah. I want a couple weeks away. Yeah, we got it scheduled. So
when she is able to drive, you can offload some of that stuff onto her,
That's
right?
what they say, until she has the accident and I have to go deal with insurance and the car and haul her around. You know how it is.
And her, knowing your oldest, if she has an accident, it'll be the end of the world.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Lots of. It's coming, man. It's like being duct taped to the front end of a freight train, and it's just like whatever bugs hit you in the face, it just is what it is. So I make no excuses. Actually, I do make excuses. That's why we've not not.
He hasn't even had time for a haircut.
Right. Hey, I've noticed it gets longer and longer. It just gets longer and longer and longer, and one of these days we'll see. Yeah. All right, so we have to cover some Pantheon as if this is breaking news. It's not. Everybody's known about this for a week at least. That's when the Q&A came out, right, to explain themselves.
Was it a week, or it's been more than that, hasn't it?
8 days ago. The Q&A.
So that is more than a week. So yes. All right.
Thereabouts, right?
All right. That's when they had the Q&A, but they announced it a couple days before that.
Yes, they did. Yeah. And we had actually thought about a recording. Hey, let's do this 2 days before the Q&A, and then something happened, and we couldn't do it.
And then it was going to be the day of it, and then then here we are now after Thanksgiving. So, by the way, happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays to all of our our one loyal listener, Jim.
Who has not given up on us.
Yeah, he hasn't given up on me. And he might have given up on Sechari, but not on me.
So I think that's completely fair.
All right, so 247 came and went, I think, in the time since we last recorded. I didn't check, but that might actually be true.
Yes. We announced it was coming, and now we're announced it's gone.
It's gone already. So for those not in the know, 247 testing was a sub game within Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen, modeled after Escape from Tarkov, whereby the testers would have access to the servers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and would compete in a survival extraction type of mode where you still were doing things in the Pantheon world, but you had like an hour to do it. You got in, you did your tasks, whether that was getting materials to craft with, or doing some missions, or doing some tasks, or whatever it was. Then you had to get to an escape portal. I can't speak very well to it because I only went into one testing session.
Right. You and everybody only went into one testing session, apparently.
It seems like it was not very well received. Yeah. So the numbers were down, and basically there was lots of reasons why they did this. The why being They wanted to get specific data, which is great. Data's good. I'm for that. They were hoping to roll out better patch cycles, better response, rather than having to wait a month for us to test the new stuff. They were trying to have more playability in that you weren't just in the MMO world camping some stuff and killing it. You had like other specific kind of goals and faction you were trying to work with. And then lastly, well, there's two other last things. They were hoping to have more item churn. Jop had mentioned that he hoped that the items would just go through based on the fact that if you failed, you lost your items, or if you died, you potentially lost your items if nobody could loot your body. Then
had to acquire new items, right? And that way they would test all the items much more thoroughly than if you just keep getting my body back, right, and the items I had, right? Okay,
exactly. And maybe you upgrade that item, every 10 levels or so, as opposed to that. So, and then lastly, they had hoped to market this as a way to bolster their coffers, which again is a noble reason. Like, we all want them to have more money so they can hire more people and do things quicker and get this game out there. But I just don't think it was.
I don't think it would have been that effective at that at all. Because you say, hey, guess what? Look at this game. Isn't this game cool? And everybody goes, oh, I like this game. Let me fund this game. And then it turns out that you're actually getting them there to fund something completely different.
Right.
Right. I don't think that would have been that effective, at least not as a fundraising mechanism. Yeah. But anyway, I mean, that's debatable.
So those are all the whys. So that's why it happened. And in his pitch for all this, Joppa did promise us a fast fail. Now, what he meant by a fast fail was that if it wasn't working, they would get rid of it quickly. They would not drag this out and put people through this if it wasn't working. So I guess we see the results of that.
Right. Which in that sense, it was successful, right? Not that the test was successful, but that they had just said, we're going to evaluate this, right? And if it meets whatever threshold we said, we don't have enough testers, it's not maybe raising the funds that we were hoping it would, whatever that, I'm sure that they had some kind of goals that they had in mind. And if they weren't seeing that kind of performance, kill it fast, right? Revert back. Right. And I think that's actually a win, honestly. I don't see that as a fail, that they gave something a try with some criteria in mind that if it doesn't, we'll go back to what we were doing. They tried it. It didn't work. They went back fast.
Right.
That's the kind of stuff we wish all game companies would do, right? If you do something that doesn't work, go back to what you were doing that does work, right? So
now what surprises me is that, Joppa was a big proponent of this. This was his brainchild, I think. I don't know why they didn't offer both. Offer a 247, like an extraction mode server, and offer an MMO server.
Okay, you just select it on the client, I suppose.
Right,
and log
exactly.
in.
You select it on the client. That way, like, they might be able to get the people that really liked it, because apparently there were people that liked it, could go in there and play that mode, and they would still get some of that data that they're looking for. And then, and especially with the announcement that they're bringing in alpha testers. You're bringing in potentially tens of thousands of testers, apparently.
Yeah.
And like, if you're offering these two modes, maybe you get people in both modes. Why did it have to be an all or none situation?
Do you think it actually is tens of thousands of testers potentially, or is it a lot less? Because I think
I was listening today, and I forget the number that Joppa said, but I think they said it was over 10,000 alpha.
Okay.
People that are alpha, committed.
Okay, in my opinion, that would have been fair. If that was the population of testers, and you have these two different options that they can test, yes, do them all parallel, not a problem. Right. I wonder maybe if they thought that there just wouldn't be enough testers testing. Right, it's too diluted. There's not enough significant data that they need by maybe if there's a stress test, right, kind of component to this. How many people can we put on a server? And we're trying to push our servers. Then you're splitting that, right? So that's not helpful. And maybe that was.
But here's my thought. All right, let's say that I don't know how many testers there are, but let's say theoretically there are 1,000 pre-alpha testers. Okay. Now let's say there's 500 pre-alpha testers. I don't again. and let's say there's 5 times as many alpha testers. So you go from 500 to 2,500 plus the 500, so you're at 3,000 now. So there would have to be a percentage of that 3,000 that would want to have that the extraction mode and want to give it a try, especially if they're offering PvP. Like a portion of that number will go over there if they have the opportunity to do Pantheon and PvP.
Yes. Because some people like the PvP, right? I mean, there are a lot of people that are in Pantheon because they don't like the PvP, and they're so happy to have an MMO.
Pantheon is right, and Joppa said in the announcement, PvP is now pushed to the back burner again.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So I and maybe it's just a matter of resources. They don't have the resources to monitor both types of situations. I don't know. But to me, like that, like why not try? I don't maybe trying both is a bad idea. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe so.
It's tough. I'm not in that field, and probably for the best.
All right. So can I make my crack about Pantheon Apocalypse and explain what that is in our title? Am I allowed to do that? So
you don't have to ask me anything. I just do stuff without asking you. So
not? In that case, I'm going to go for it. Right, so I get to jab at Pantheon for trying out Apocalypse, right? Because Ashes of Creation tried Apocalypse. They had their battle royale mode called Apocalypse for a while. That is kind of like we don't want to speak about it, right? It's like we don't talk about Bruno, kind of a thing. In the Ashes world. So now you've got it. You've got Pantheon Apocalypse. So welcome to the club, at least in that regard, right?
Yes, so we have our item to hang our head in shame, and I can't act like Pantheon's better. Is better than Ashes because we didn't have our Apocalypse. Because
that's off the table now, right? Yeah, you can't play that card at least. So.
Man, I have to throw that card out of my deck. Let's see. So good stuff that came out of all this, though. I have to say, I think their reaction to this has caused them to kind of overly open the pull back the curtain, so to speak.
Okay.
They're lifting the verbal NDA.
Okay.
So we can talk about as of December 1st. We talk about stuff that's going on in the game without any reprisal. Like we don't have to wait for them to mention it or them to show it in a stream. Now, we can talk about stuff.
Yeah, they mentioned that though because that they felt that all they're getting is stuff that VR is saying to the world. And if the reaction isn't that good about it, no one is jumping in to defend it from the community because they can't. Right. So they want people to be able to communicate what they're actually seeing, that it is actually a positive. I mean, they're going to get the negatives as well. But I mean, that's a huge vote of confidence in their community's belief about how they're doing.
Right.
Right. To say, hey, speak freely about what you're seeing and what you're hearing and anything behind the scenes, right? But you can't show it, of course, right? The visual NDA is still in place.
Well, pardon me. Some people are. As a matter of fact, Nathan Napalm today had a 2-hour stream of Pantheon.
Yeah.
So they are allowing some streamers, with permission to show some of the content.
Within guidelines, yeah. I imagine.
Going forward, Joppa talked in the Q&A about how their development cycle has to change. Mm-hmm. That they will be doing, showing things that aren't complete yet. They'll be showing them to testers, and thus, in some ways showing them to the world. So things like when in testing, we will come across things that are not complete. We will come across some old models, they said, some old artwork, things like that, that they haven't gotten to yet. But in doing that, they're going to be giving us access to more content quicker, and I think that is definitely a positive side. But it also opens up for the criticism from people who think that the narcs of the world will be quick to show out. Look, that's unfinished. That's garbage. Don't play that.
Right. There's risk, absolutely.
So. Like I said, there's, but are they pulling back the curtain too much? It's yet to be seen.
Right. Hey, while you're on the topic of Narc, did you see that he dropped by our other video?
I did. I responded to him before you did, and you were much more congenial than I was.
Yes. So yeah, just to those of you who have been following for a while, right? We did those live streams for a minute and covered some Narc content. Well, he dropped by and said, "Hey, how do you guys still feel about this?" And this was right after the art revise, right? So there were a lot of people that were pretty salty on it still at the time.
Yeah.
Imagine some
Oh,
still
they
are.
still are. Like, people are still, like, bitter about the art. Like, that's not going to change. And even though they've said that they are going to be making adjustments to it, tweaks to it, like, to try to make it grittier. Some people just are anti that style, and that's perfectly within their rights to be wrong. I mean, perfectly
Right.
within their rights to have their own opinion.
Yeah, well, that's what you get for not using Unreal Engine. So
That's the case.
Yes, I get to have fun with this now. It's a point for Sechari. So
It is. So, overall, my thoughts on this, I would have to say, that I was disappointed in the direction they went. I did give it an honest shot, and I did not like it personally. We could talk later, after the first, about, more about why and what happened. But my experience within it was not one that obviously didn't make me want to go back. I'm glad that they reversed course on it. We'll talk about our poll in a little while. But basically, it where I fall in that sort of those questions or the answers, was that they lost some of my confidence in them, but the fact that they backed off of this testing model so quickly helped the situation.
okay.
So I am still behind them. And I never thought they weren't going to release it. I just thought that it was going to, I'd have to wait until the spring to get back into MMO testing, which is what I want to be doing. So I think that's what it came down to. Is it's more of I want to be playing an MMO.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So can while you're on the topic of the poll, can we show that to our friends?
Yeah,
what we got?
sure.
Right, because what we're trying to do here in episodes here and there as we wade into the waters on things is to give you all a little bit of a chance to weigh in on our episode that we then discuss. Now, if 3 people answer it, we're going to talk about what 3 people answered, right? Well, none of these polls are going to be significant.
Scientific.
Yeah, because you need a huge data set in order for it to be even remotely reliable in any kind of way. These are just, hey, why don't you weigh in? What and then we'll talk about it and just kind of see, but with all of that disclaimer,
this is less reliable than like a political poll, and we all know how reliable they are.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so here are the poll results.
Right.
And you'll see that we had 27.
27 people actually voted. So I was one of them. You did not vote. You felt
I
like
did not, no.
You didn't have a horse in the race, so it wouldn't be appropriate for you to vote, so to speak. My surprise of all this is that 11%, and that's either 2 or 3 people, I'm not sure, their confidence was unshaken. Like, this came and went and didn't faze them at all. Didn't faze them that they did it, and didn't faze them that they took it away. I don't understand that. Like, that you're kind of sitting on the fence to me. Or you don't care as long as the game releases, maybe.
You're always going to have your hardliners, right? You're always going to have your people that Pantheon can do no wrong. You're going to get people that like VR is the king. I can't wait for this. I'm such a fan. Like, I mean, hey, the world has to have its paladins. So there you go.
Right.
You're
it has paladins. So, but the vast majority of people are either well, let's see kind of how let's let the ship right itself, or let's let them earn it back and move forward. So,
so it's good. This shows a positive thing. So I look at this poll, and what I see is the community that was already a fan, and it's a small community, was already a fan of this thing. They were already invested. Visionary Realms did some stuff that kind of shook up the community, and they didn't like it so much, but they reverted back, and the community feels that's better. stay the course, right? I mean, I don't see monumental shift, you know, in you know, I think if it's you know, shaken, right, or you know, one of these options that's more along the lines of I don't know what I'm going to do now. I don't have any faith in them. Was heavy that way.
So like 3 to 4 people are either coming back to release or think it's vaporware.
Right.
So out of 27, that means that 24 people, let's say, or 23 people are kind of okay with everything.
Yeah.
At this point, provided they don't do this again.
Right. Right. So I mean, we've had two huge, I would say, hits, right, that have happened in short order with everybody. Right. One is, hey, guess what, guys? We have to lose some ground on the art, right? And it wasn't. I mean, they tried to kind of pitch it as here's the win, right? We're looking for Pantheon's unique art style. This was always going to be a thing, and it was, right? But I don't think that they played that game very well, right? It was a PR disaster that way. It was like, well, I guess we have to admit defeat and fall back to a safer art style that we can handle, right? And if it was part of that, I think, was messaging, right? So you got a defeat going on there, and then you have this, hey, guess what, we tried this thing. And I don't necessarily see that this reversion back to MMO testing, 24 testing of a test style is a defeat, right? But especially consider that they were like, hey, we're going to experiment with this, keep the bar low. Sure enough, it didn't work out, throw it away, revert back, not a problem, right? I don't see that as a defeat, but it was pitched as one. Right, in the release that they put out there, it was like, well, you know, I don't know. The messaging to me is more their issue than anything else.
I mean, you know, they don't really have a marketing department, so you can't fault them.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, so what happens is because you again, there's the cost, and agreed, right? But it shakes that base that are really the ones that are, and I know that they're hoping to bring people in so that funding base grows bigger, but that's your funding base, right?
Right.
And you don't want to shake them too much in that regard. So, can I talk about my analogy? How about I talk about my analogy?
Can you be terse?
How about I be verbose? That's what I do best. No, I promise I won't kill anybody. All right. So I was trying to think about a way to explain what I see going on here in MMO terms that makes it make sense, right? Imagine you're standing in town and you say to everybody, hey, guess what? There's a world boss out there. We want to go find the world boss. And nobody responds. Very, very few people. 1 or 2 people, right? Yeah, that's
sounds like every experience of mine in MMO. Nobody ever wants to group.
Nobody wants to. Right? There you go. You burnt yourself. Congratulations, you played yourself. Right. So, but there's not very much of a response. And let's say a tank goes, yeah, I'll go do this thing. So sweet, we got a tank. And then there is like 20 healers that want to go, right? Now, the reason I've picked those is because the tank represents Visionary Realms. It's like, okay, we're going to go wail on this giant boss, right? It's this huge, undefeatable, almost nearly undeliverable thing. But if we just wail on it long enough, we'll kill it, right? And the 20 healers is the community that goes, okay, yeah, we'll fund this thing. We'll crowd fund you, right? So you've got this no DPS, like that's really what they need. But anyway, hey, here we go. Let's go do this thing, and they go fight this boss, right? So the tank is wailing on the boss, and slowly but surely over the course of 15 years, that bar starts to go down a little bit. You know, if you stay the course long enough,
don't forget to mention the Project Fairthale nap that the tank takes mid-fight.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, but those are the setbacks, right? Those setbacks happen, right? Where you know, they're getting that bar down, right? Okay. It's going to be 9 years. It's going to take us instead of 15. Woohoo! We're making good progress. And then something happens, and it makes the bar go longer, and everyone goes, "Oh my goodness, what is going on? Like this is not the direction." We've lost all this time. It's going to be 15 years again, right? And so what happens is, of your 20 healers, 3 of them go, you know what? We're done. We're not going to do this anymore, and they leave, right? So now you got their 17 healers. Well, we can still kind of make this thing work. Let's keep doing it. Heal harder, right? And maybe we can win another heal or 2 as they come along, or you know, heal harder, right? So everybody's like, we keep going and just keep wailing on it, right? Whatever, and then the tank takes I don't know, something else, right? You get one of these setbacks. But what happens is, if you shake that healer base, you're going to lose a couple 3 healers. At some stage, you don't have enough of that crowdfunding input to sustain the tank.
Right.
If that makes sense, right? And a concern that's slowly beginning to grow for me is, even if ultimately you do win this thing, right? The healers that have been healing that tank the 15 years that it's taken to beat that boss. Yay, guess what? We got this thing over the finish line. This game gets to launch. We've been playing it for 15 years. We don't want to play it anymore, right? We were tired of this, right? And and so there's a growing concern for me in all of this testing, that if you have this pre-alpha testers and alpha testers that test for such a long time and test all of the quests, right? They test, and it's in the MMO mode. It's not in a different mode. It's in the MMO mode because that's what they wanted. Like you said, I want to play an MMO, right? You'll get a chance to play the MMO, but when we get to launch, we're hoping that a whole influx of people will play this thing now, new people, right? But it's already an old game to you.
Right.
So you lose, so that's the problem with the such a long delivery thing and the setbacks that it takes. Is I think that it stresses everything out in so many different ways that to really fully comprehend what the problems are that introduces, I don't know,
Yeah. So they definitely got the long production cycle down that you mentioned. So
yeah, however
I guess we'll have
years.
to see what what comes of the rest. And I mean, it's a good analogy. You're right in that like each shakeup is going to cause them to lose some portion of their audience, and hopefully they can recapture that or replace it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So what are your other concerns about persistent MMO testing?
Well, let me just ask you a question, right? Let's say I am Visionary Realms, right?
Okay.
And I did what we just did, right? I'm like, hey, guess what? We do this testing, and now we're going to fall back, right? Okay. You have been invested in this project with me, right?
Okay.
What are you feeling now? Like, as we've come out of this, what are you feeling?
I was not a fan of it from the announcement. I verbalized, in channels, that I didn't think it was a good idea. Okay. That it would not be well received, and that it would, I didn't think it would work.
Okay.
But I did go into the testing with my eyes, wide open and ready to give it a shot, and
open-minded
hoping for the best. Yeah, open-minded, hoping for the best.
Okay.
I grouped with a couple people who had already had done it, so they kind of were able to help guide me through the initial steps and try to get us off the ground on it. Like I said, it just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
I was discouraged after I attempted the testing, and then I was happy that I was perfectly ready to wait until spring or summer, whenever the MMO testing was going to come back, because they said that this would be
just sit out,
that the MMO will be back sometime next year. So I was happy when they said that it had failed. But also part of me is, kind of, like, oh, that kind of sucks, because now it's going to give the narcs of the world more ammunition.
Absolutely, right.
So,
and that hurts potential other investors, or investors in the sense of people that want to crowd fund, right?
Yeah, who want to support it,
or maybe actually invest. I mean, like, who knows, right? Because one of the things that I wonder is just like in asking you. Right. Mm-hmm. Like, are you shaken as if I can imagine that if I pinged you and said, hey, Mox, what are your thoughts on this? And you said, I don't think this is a good idea, and I do it anyway. Right. Does that shake your faith in me? Do you feel like I don't listen to you?
I mean, being that I'm one voice out of, hundreds of other VIPs, no, because I'm one voice.
Right.
Now, if I had access to their data and because I'm sure they're compiling from Discord and from the chats and the, you know, when we had the stream, because we had access to this information a little bit before the rest of the world as VIPs. They came to us and said, "This is what we're planning. We're going to announce this," and you know, so we were able to give our feedback at that time. If they were hearing from a majority of the VIPs that it's a bad idea and they still went through with it, part of me would wonder, like, why? Like, what's, you know, help me. And I guess I do understand I hope that we can market this and increase our funding and thus release the game sooner. So I get the hopeful side of that. But was that realistic? Was that being honest with yourself? Were they being honest with themselves in doing this, or was this just a you know, a shot in the dark and see what happens?
You sound very conflicted to me.
You know, I was, but I mean, right now I'm happy that they're back on track with the MMO.
Yeah, so, I mean, like, yeah, hey, there you go. But reverting back to the MMO thing isn't without its risks, right? Like, I think that I think that there's a very real risk in this strategy of wearing out your testers, who happen to be I would say the vast majority of your launch audience, right? Now, I could be completely wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that it's
including the alpha testers in it. I would agree that it's going to be the vast majority of your
If they test too long,
a decent percentage of your launch audience.
If they test too long, and so this is kind of like, it's funny because I'm arguing the opposite thing that we've argued with Ashes of Creation, right? Ashes of Creation, I'm like, I feel like I'm looking at this through a keyhole. You only give me this much information on a month, 1 hour, 2 hours, right? And you show me caravans again, right? I've seen caravans
in 2 years, right?
And I've got a list of 16 different things I want to see. I want to see the ships combat and the, you know, like, show me all this other stuff, but you keep showing me the same classes and the same thing, right? And so I want to see more, and maybe that's exactly what they want, because I'm baited into, finally the game is launched. Let me go see what else is out there, right? Because they've only been showing me through a keyhole. The opposite is what's going on with Pantheon, where they are allowing their testers to see pretty much everything all the time. And once the visual NDA is lifted, I can go in there and watch any streamer for however long it takes them over the course of the development, right? So where's the magic at launch? That's my concern, right? Like everybody knows everything. I'm watching my favorite streamer who happens to be a backer, right, to do this for however long. I already know this game. I already know that I've seen this quest run 3 different ways, right? That's, I can't, I'm not surprised with anything. So is there a happy medium, right, between the keyhole approach and the show everybody everything approach?
Part of me wonders if they can keep the other continents under wraps and do all the testing in the continent that we're on, and thus, still have some mystery at launch.
I do hope so, but the problem with that then is that you're gonna kill it for some races who start with here, right?
Oh, valid point.
And then the races that do start elsewhere, they're the ones everyone will want to play because that's the new content, right? So I don't know.
Speaking of races, one of the things that came up in the Q&A, they are revamping the class race matrix.
Aha. Okay.
It'd be nice
I'm
to
okay
see
with
it.
that.
They haven't. Yeah, I am too. It'd be nice to see like
it
more
felt
than
restrictive.
2 paladins. Like hopefully lift it just a little bit. I don't want it to be totally. I don't want it to be the WoW model now where every race can be every class.
Right.
But I'd like to see a little bit more balance that you can be more than 2 classes can be, or races can be paladins. Let's say
align it with the lore. I think that's okay, right? Like let the lore drive that.
Right.
And I mean, if you say, okay, hey, here's paladins, it's associated with such and such a religion in the game. Anybody who would subscribe to that religion can have it. But maybe there's another race that's close enough, maybe geographically or whatever, that maybe they can be a convert. You know what I'm saying? You widen the scope, but not crazy, so that everybody could do it, right? But you still please don't disrespect your lore in this. I think lore matters, right? And
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Very cool. That's a side for everyone. So.
Yes. So there we go. Pantheon's, deepest dive and quickest rise, I guess.
Yeah.
It is the Rise of the Fallen, so.
It's the rise of the fall instead of the rise and fall.
Yeah.
Right. No kidding.
All right, everybody. I guess that wraps us up. In the description below, you will find our link tree, which has all of the ways to find us on social media.
Yeah, we've shortened that, so there you go. Definitely go follow those links. We would love to have you along for the ride. You know, Discord is a little quiet lately. We apologize for that. Everybody, somebody say something. That would be good for us. Let's get some discussion going. So that is it for us this episode. Thank you very much for tuning in. We appreciate every, piece of I don't know, contribution you have in sticking by our unworthy project, please.
Yeah, speaking of contributions, thank you to everybody who made comments on our last YouTube video. It was the most engaging episode we've ever had.
Yeah, very cool.
It was insane.
Yeah. And it's cool. I even go back and go looking down, the list, and just there's more comments every time I do. And that's
he likes to count how many people I have fights with.
Yes, you do. You have a lot of fights. I read everything. I just don't respond to everything. It's already been responded to. So there you go. So, exactly. But that's it for us. We definitely want to thank you. Hey, do the same here. We'd love to hear from you. Comment on our stuff. Pop a like, subscribe, all that stuff that helps Mox not be so terrible on YouTube. That would be great.
Yes.
So, all right, friends, that's it for us this episode. Thanks again, as always, and all of that said, I think take care of yourselves. Remember always to be immovable in your principles and irresistible in your passion.